Okay, the time is 5:06. I'm going to officially start our meeting. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Ayabami Bell-Torrance. I am the Outreach Manager for Ddot. I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight for our monthly input meeting, and a special welcome to anyone joining us for the first time. As we will be sharing a few departmental updates with you, tonight is a little special as our focus will be on our comprehensive operational analysis, now referred to as Ddot Reimagined. And we'll be introducing you to that special team dedicated to the project. But I want to first allow our Executive Director of Transit to introduce himself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Oglesby. I'm the Executive Director of Transit for the City of Detroit. We're just doing introductions, right, Ayabami?
I see you, but I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? You guys can hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Okay, it might be. Thank you.
So wait a minute. Everyone can hear me except Ayabami. Is that what you're
I
trying
hear
to
you
tell
now,
me?
so I apologize. It must be.
Okay. So we're just doing introductions. I'm not talking or anything, right?
No, I just
For
wanted
now?
to make sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, Michael Oglesby, Executive Director of Transit for the City of Detroit.
Okay, thank you. And as I mentioned, we do have our Ddot staff on. I do want to take this opportunity, since you will be mostly be hearing from our team who has been working on Ddot Reimagined. So we'll start with TMD. If you all will start introducing yourself, and then we'll move to the 98 forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Russ Chisholm with TMD. I'm working with Ddot as the project principal on Ddot Reimagined.
Hi, good evening, everyone. James Gerken, also at TMD, Transportation Management and Design, working with Ddot on the Ddot Reimagined project.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashley Dandridge. I'm a part of the 98 Forward team. We are the communications agency that's working with TMD and Ddot on the Reimagine project.
Okay, and Steve, you want to introduce yourself and your team?
Yes, I'm Steve Patrick, Executive Manager for Service Development and Scheduling with Ddot, and I have several members of the Planning and Scheduling team here today.
I'm Claire Dowse. I'm the graphic designer in scheduling and service development for Ddot.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Hondorp. I am a planner 1 for under the service development and scheduling division at Ddot.
Okay. Was there anyone else from scheduling, service development? Okay, so I'm going to go now. Time now for our meeting rules. The public comment will take place again following our Ddot Reimagined presentation. As always, you'll be limited to 2 minutes, and I'll announce when that time is up. Please respect that time and note that you may be muted for going over. As always, no personal attacks or foul language will be tolerated. And as I begin our departmental updates, I do have a few reminders. By participating in this Zoom meeting, you are granting permission for your name, your image, your likeness, as well as audio and video recordings to be used by Ddot. When it's time to request to make a comment, you can simply use the raise hand function. Now, if you're using the dial-in only phone option, you can enter *9 to serve as the raise hand feature to request to speak or to ask a question. To submit questions or comments to Ddot staff, you can place that in the chat. Before asking a question or commenting, please be sure to unmute your audio. You want to state your name and your organization. And following your comments, please also mute your audio. And this is our abbreviated version tonight, but we will be remiss not to say, talk about our electric buses. As many of you know, Ddot celebrated the launch of 4 electric buses on May 23rd. Many of you were there, and those buses are now on the road. And a special thanks to our transit advocacy group members for participating in that kickoff event. Here are a few of the pictures of the event that took place at Rosa Parks Transit Center. So again, thank you all for participating, and we hope that if you haven't got a chance to ride the electric buses, that you hop on. From our safety division, we have welcomed a new manager and an intern this month. And congratulations and welcome. Safety is working on an internal safety culture survey for employees that will be done late June or July. And although, as a reminder, although masks are no longer required on public transportation, they are strongly encouraged on vehicles to help reduce the spread of COVID-19. Ddot is still hiring. So of course, we wanted to let you know. For more information, Ddot employment opportunities, please visit detroitmi.gov/Ddot. Ddot is an equal employment opportunity employer. And we're happy to say that last month, 7 people graduated, and we are currently have 26 students at different phases of training. Upcoming meetings. The next virtual public meeting will actually be about the Coolidge Terminal Rehabilitation Project. That will take place Thursday, June 30th at 10 a.m. So that's a save the date. More information will come for that. And our next community input meeting will take place Thursday, July 21st at 5 p.m. And of course, there are Ddot Reimagined meetings, but we are going to get to that in just a moment. So that concludes our departmental updates. We're going to shift now into our main focus of tonight that I mentioned earlier, which is Ddot Reimagined, which I know the reason many of you are here. That means, I just want to emphasize, that means that all comments or questions not related to Ddot Reimagined, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. You can also email us at ddotcomments@detroitmi.gov, and we'll put that link in the chat as well. Following this presentation, you will get the opportunity to share your ideas for Ddot Reimagined. And I do want to acknowledge again that this is mainly a chance to hear your thoughts. So not all comments will be addressed tonight, but they all will be noted and taken into consideration. So this is our opportunity to hear from you. With that, we're going to go ahead and begin our Ddot Reimagined, please.
Mr. Oglesby, I do believe you wanted to say a few words.
Yes, before you kick this off, and then I'm going to sit back and enjoy it just like everybody else. I just wanted to say this is an exciting time. Reimagine happened because you, the writing public, said you deserve better. You spoke, we listened. We moved forward with this process, so you'll be able to give us all the information that we need to make our transit system better. During our previous opera discussions, there were many impressive ideas that came up that just did not fit in that arena, but I specifically said, stay tuned. When we go through our COA/Reimagine process, you'll have the opportunity to bring up everything that you discussed. So everybody that called me, and there were plenty of people out there with great ideas, bring them up now so they can get documented. We can bring them into consideration as we move forward and reimagine how great our system can be. And with that, Ayabami, continue on.
All right, thank you. So thank you again for that great introduction. And that brings us to the main question. If you don't know, what is Ddot Reimagined? Well, the Department of Transportation is reimagining public mobility for our city. Ddot Reimagined will be a plan to rethink the fixed route bus network, improve operations, and create new mobility options. Now we need your help in shaping the future of transit. The Ddot Reimagined schedule. So now through July, we are hosting community listening sessions, just like tonight, to collect input from our customers, the public, advocates, stakeholders, and our bus operators. We'll be collecting comments and survey responses through the end of July. Now, this input will help shape the draft plan that we will present to everyone later this summer. We will use your feedback on the draft plan to make revisions, resulting in a final plan that will be considered for implementation later this year. And if approved, implementation would start later this year, continuing into 2023. So again, to recap that timeline, the community listening sessions, which is like what we're doing tonight. We're collecting your input. We are going to develop a draft plan next. Now that draft plan will be shared to everyone later this summer. We'll collect more input, and then there will be a final plan in hopes of starting implementation later this fall of this year. So how can you get involved? That's the big question. Participate in an in-person interactive meeting. Now, these two that I'm mentioning now are the two of all district meetings. They're Wednesday. The first one's Wednesday, June 29th, 5:30 to 7:30 at Considine Little Rock Family Life Center. And the next one's at Thursday, July 14th, again at 5:30 to 7:30 at Crowell Community Center. Now, we'll be hosting in-person transit talk meetings in each city council district. And you can always visit the website, DetroitMI/D.Dot Reimagine for more information. So again, just tell your friends, family, co-workers, neighbors, faith community. We want everyone to know about D.Dot Reimagine and encourage them to please share their input and attend these district meetings or the citywide meetings. And as I mentioned, these transit talks, they're all going to take place from 5:30 to 7:30. What I want to highlight that each district, so you can participate in these. District 1, yours will take place Thursday, July 20th at the Redford Public Library. District 2 will have theirs Wednesday, June 22nd, and that's taking place at Tyndall Activity Center. District 3, Tuesday, July 12th at the Matrix Center. Now, District 4, that one took place on Tuesday at the Samaritan Center. District 5, Tuesday, June 28th. District 6, that will take place Tuesday, June 21st at the Kimmery Recreation Center. And District 7, that took place last night at Dabo. So if you missed one of the two districts, again, as you see, you have plenty of opportunities to still attend and those other citywide meetings that I offered as well. So moving from the schedule, it's time to get a little interactive tonight. We're doing something a little different. We are going to launch a poll, so that will launch shortly. For those unable to maybe access the poll, I will still read them and you can participate by placing it in the chat. And if for some reason you're not able to do that and you still want to participate, you can always email us as well later. So here we go. The first question, the first poll is, how do we get around? Okay, and that should be launching now. But again, I'm going to read that question for you. Which mode of travel do you use on most days? And you can place the number also in chat versus the whole answer. So number 1, ride Ddot. 2, ride Smart. 3, drive by myself. 4, get a ride with someone else or carpool. 5, bike. 6, walk. 7, work from home or don't travel. And 8, other. So I give you opportunity to participate in that poll. Again, you can also place your answer in the chat. We're just asking for 1. All right, I love to see the participation. It's awesome. Give you 15 more seconds, so go ahead and get your answers in. I'm going to close the poll shortly. Okay, ending the poll. And let's take a look at some of our results. So it looks like we have about 42%. And again, this is just counting the poll results. And so I do know that many of you answered in the chat. And again, that will all be noted. But yeah, 42 drive by yourself. We have 21% that ride Ddot, so that's great. And 8% ride smart. 17% that bike. 8% walking. And not so much carpooling, at least on the poll. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing. So thank you for that input. And that's going to bring us to a discussion question. So we heard that many of you do ride the bus as well. So, but for those that we saw, was it 42% that do drive? Our discussion question tonight is, I would ride the bus more often if. Now, so if you can kind of do a short response in the chat, we'd love to see it, and I'll try to read a couple of them. But again, this will be input that we're taking. Again, the question is, I would ride the bus more often if. So give us your thoughts. And there was a other, remember, I know I see no mention of Mogo, Q Line, but there was a other. So we've taken that into consideration as well. Okay, I would take the bus if there was a park and ride option. I would ride more often if the schedule was consistent and correct. If the bus was more frequent and more reliable. And maybe one more. Faster, more efficient. Okay. All right, that takes us to poll number 2. What is your current opinion of Ddot bus service? So I'm going to launch that. One moment. Okay, so that should be up. Again, the question is, what is your current opinion of Ddot bus service? So number 1, very favorable. 2, favorable. 3, neutral. 4, unfavorable. 5, very unfavorable. Let me see answers coming in, so that's great. Okay, I'm preparing to close the poll, so if you haven't answered, do that now. Okay, I'm ending. And all right, we asked for it. Let me share the results. But this is why we're here. 52% did say unfavorable. 32% is neutral. 8% very favorable, and 8% favorable. So that's our goal, is to get the percentage up under the favorable, very favorable. So that's going to, and again, don't think the comments that placed in the chat, we haven't discounted. I'm just going off the poll results as far as that I'm sharing today. So let's go, I believe, maybe our next discussion question based on that. So, you know, again, 52% unfavorable, but let's hear, what is Ddot doing good at? So Ddot is doing a good job at. We would love to hear your feedback. So on the positive side. So if you can share that with me, and I'll read off a few. Okay. We are good at cleaner buses, trying to have reliable buses, engagement with riders, electric buses, that's great, embracing new technologies that make service better for operators and passengers, thank you. The billboards, okay, great. We appreciate acknowledging the clean extra buses, and that you acknowledge that we're making an effort. So we really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. These are all great. I said I just read off a few, but we appreciate that. And the driver's doing their best. Thank you all for that. And I think we have one more poll question. Mr. Cunningham, the flyers, yes, and we thank you for your help with that. Okay, actually, here's another discussion. Here we go. The biggest improvement Ddot needs to make. So let us know, what is the biggest improvement Ddot needs to make? So you can keep your answers short, and again, I will read off a few. Okay, so kind of similar frequency, on time, reliability, consistent timely schedules. The driver shortage, we're working on that. Keep sending the word, we're hiring. Increased service times. Air conditioning during the summer, reducing those shows. Okay. Customer service. All right, we got it. We're hearing it. Continue to place your input, but as far as that part, we're going to move on. This is our last poll question. Let me prepare to launch. Sorry, I didn't realize I was still sharing the other one. You might have been tired of seeing that one. Okay, so the third poll question has launched. And the question is, which service improvements are most important to you? And as you see or hear, there will be a lot of choices, but we're asking that you please do not select no more than 3. Please limit it to 3 for the purposes of this survey. Number 1, frequency, meaning service more often. 2, reliable transit service, saying on time, predictable, dependable. We heard that. 3, fast, direct travel, no transfers. 4, more weekend service. 5, longer service span, earlier mornings, later evenings. 6, easy to transfer. 7, more regional connections to smart and key destinations outside the city of Detroit. 8, on-demand ride service like microtransit. And 9, lower fares or free fares. So again, no more than 3. And go ahead and let us know what you think. Thank you. I see some answering in the chat and see how our poll is doing. Give me about 10 more seconds and we'll prepare to close, but it looks like we got a lot of participation. All right, I am preparing to close it. Going once, going twice. All right, I am ending the poll, but again, if you missed it, you can just go ahead and put it in chat. So let's share these results. Okay, overwhelmingly 93% reliable transit service, which we heard from many of you in the prior discussions. 67% frequency, service more often. 19% fast direct travel. 15% more weekend travel. 22% longer service span. And 19% easy to transfer. Now 41% more regional connections. 4% on-demand ride service. And 11% lower fares, free fares. So again, that big number for tonight on our poll, reliable transit service and a frequency. So thank you all for participating in our poll questions. I appreciate the participation on that. It's wonderful. And you've done our polls and many of you have completed the survey. So that was great to see. But if you haven't, here's your opportunity to take another survey. It's you can scan the QR code with the, sorry, not another survey. This is the survey, the other one was the poll. But your mobile device's camera, or you can visit the bit.ly link at Ddot Survey 2022. In this survey, we want to know why you do or do not ride Ddot, what you think of our bus service, and how we can improve. And your input will help to share our plan and the future of Ddot Transit. Survey is available in Spanish and Arabic, and the paper surveys will be available at all in-person events, and I'll place the link in the chat as well. So if you haven't taken the survey already, please make sure you do that. All right, so this is the opportunity I know many of you have been waiting for. We now invite you to share your thoughts on how Ddot can improve. And I lost my script, but that's okay. This is again, just more for your listening, our listening purposes. So we want to hear again, keep it to 2 minutes, please. As a reminder, not all your comments may be necessarily addressed verbally tonight, but as you heard from our team earlier, we're all standing by. And again, if you do have any comments outside of Ddot Reimagine, that needs to go to the chat, because we cannot acknowledge as far as taking up that time when we unmic you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Kristen to call our first person.
Great, thank you. Renard, you're the first hand I see up.
Good evening. Can I be heard?
Yep, go ahead.
All right. Hi, my name is Renard. I'm the organizer of the Transit Justice Team here in Detroit through this platform. We actually tried to do a mini session of like reimagining yesterday. And the question that just kept going through my mind, and I want to ask it to this body as well, is we need some help in terms of re-envisioning for the future, you know, just given the fact that I think that many people might think about the service as it was or restoring old routes. What are some methods or tactics that we could all use together to kind of push us to think about 5 to 10 years and seeing how transit trends are going as well? Because I'm kind of concerned that trying to reinvent the old system may not work. And also, my other question is, how can we be sure or assure neighborhoods across the city of Detroit that they will not be left behind of this new system as well? I'm kind of just worried that just given the like certain neighborhoods in Detroit and they're sparsely populated, getting rid of transit or getting rid of a line in that area would also remove paratransit access. So just have those two concerns. But I also want to just offer this suggestion as well to close my comment. I say, let's look at what other cities have done post-pandemic in terms of data, in terms of riding patterns, because after the pandemic, the way that we're using the bus is a lot different. There's been shifts in AM and also PM service. New York City, Washington, DC, and Baltimore started observing different patterns, and it changed to the schedule. So I think another element of this whole Ddot Reimagine is taking a fresh new look at the schedule and shifting it towards the reality of essential workers that are working in our restaurants, our bars, the factories, the power plants, critical infrastructure and things of that sort. I think the old model of workers going downtown and then back to their neighborhoods and the central business district model that transit agencies tend to write their schedules based off is obsolete. So I just wanted to just raise that to all of your attention, that we should also think about things like expanded weekend service or nighttime service, nighttime shuttles at first and last mile so someone can get safely from the stop to their home. Just given, you know, at nighttime it's kind of dangerous to walk around and traverse. So thank you.
Thank you. Those are still some great feedback. I'd like to see more of that, but please make sure you you send it in writing, because we need that. So if it's on a survey form or in some other way, we need that kind of feedback. And we have looked at a lot of those issues, and we realized that our ridership patterns have changed. Now, we weren't as reliant on downtown office workers as some other cities were, but we also realized that there's less peaking. The ridership is more level throughout the day. We don't know how long that will last, but it seems like downtown office workers might be the last people to come back to public transit in a lot of cities, and we may be one of them, because a lot of people are still working virtually and working alternative schedules, and the higher gasoline prices adds a lot of incentive to keep doing that for a lot of employers. Thank you. That's great feedback.
Hi, Bami.
Okay, Kristen, I think we can go ahead with the next one. Thank you, C. And thank you again,
Russ
Renard, for
has a,
your feedback.
sorry, Russ, did you want to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention a couple
Oh.
of things. Ayobami, we've got a transcript of this, so everything that's being shared today, the team is going to be able to see. You know, and Renard, by the way, those were great comments. These are things, as Steve indicated, we're already thinking about that'll be critical in transitioning to a post-pandemic system that meets mobility needs. But I don't think, I think if we have time at the end for responses, that's great, but let's make sure everybody has a chance to kind of share their input. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree. And you're right. We will have the transcript and all this is recorded. So go ahead with our next person.
Okay. Mr. Cunningham, your hand's up next.
I have a difficulty without talk to text, and it's not allowing me to do talk to text in the Zoom meeting. So please bear with me if I didn't follow your instructions fully. The only question is in regards to those who take MetroLift during this Reimagined. So you got the New Freedom, which ends this December or something like that. But there's 2 application processes of the same thing. And I was just hoping that it could be, you wouldn't have to fill out 2 applications.
Mr. Cunningham, yeah, we are, so you can place that comment in the chat. Now, if you do have something specific to Ddot Reimagine, you can share that. But anything, the Metro, they're all standing by so they can possibly answer through the chat.
Well, in regards to MetroLift and New Freedom, that's part of the Reimagine. You're only focusing on the fixed route, is what you're saying?
So you were talking about specific applications at this time, right?
Right. Well, I'm just saying it could be streamlined. If a person's disabled, you already know because they already filled out the application before. That's all I was saying about that. So they haven't filled out 2. You already know they're disabled. They should be able to get the New Freedom with that, if they've already applied for MetroLift. And I agree with Mr. Renard as it regards to other cities, because I've went to Myrtle Beach and other areas, and they're all speaking of the changes since COVID-19, how people are working from home virtually. Just all demographics of people are working virtually. So that does play a huge part. And like I said, I don't know how to use talk. It won't allow me to do talk to text. That's all I use while I'm in Zoom. So that's why I stated about the aspect of paratransit and the future of the paratransit system, MetroLift and New Freedom. And that's why I stated that. And thank you for your time. And will the Ddot Reimagine possibly be doing any city council presentations? Tuesday's a big day.
We are hoping to get more involved with city council meetings. So just stand by right now. That we have in place is the schedule that we listed. If you don't have it, we can email, but it's on the website too. But those are the ones that we have secured right now. But we are working to get as much engagement and opportunities to speak as possible.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And help us share the word.
I shall. And thank you for the flyers.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. Robert, your hand's up next.
Good evening. Can I be heard?
Yes.
Perfect. Robert Pulowski from Southgate, Wayne County, currently in Ann Arbor, Washtenaw County. I love the rundown. I actually took the survey before I even hopped into this meeting. I love the options. Going back onto Renard's point, I really think that we need to focus on the essential workers. Me working in Auburn Hills, it was really tough to catch Ford Street, going downtown to get on the Woodward, the fast Woodward to go up to Auburn Hills. And just the hourly service, the impact it has on Ford Street has really, took a hit. And the ridership's actually starting to go down on Ford Street dramatically. Focusing on like Ford Street, for example, it's a short route, possibly expanding that route to a key destination like Dearborn, go up Outer Drive, focus on those communities. That's one thing that we should be focusing on, is expanding that route and also changing the frequency times to at least 30 minutes, back to it the way it was, or at least 15 minutes. It's a high ridership route. It really needs help, especially for our essential workers. And it's not really dependable, especially if it's not showing up like it was the past couple weeks. It hasn't been showing up at night. It hasn't been showing up in the afternoon. There's a lot of things that really need to be taken a look, especially Ford Street in particular. So if we want to make the system more dependable, we need to stop putting the extra buses on these Connect 10s that barely have any ridership and focus on the key routes that have a lot of ridership on them. That's the main thing. Also, I want to make note of cashless fare. I'm working closely with Coast RTA down in Myrtle Beach, where they're doing a cashless fare system where you put money on a card and you pay your fare that way. That's what I also would like to see in the Ddot bus system, and also work coincide with SMART. That's something that really needs to be looked at, especially if we're trying to move into the future. There's a lot of potential for Ddot, and I love this city with my passion and heart. Just focus on the real issues, especially cashless fare. I mean, our technology is developing, and we need to look at something more realistic than just doing the Dart app for what we have now. But thank you, and keep up the good work. By the way, I love the background photo. It was really good. But keep up the good work. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next hand up is Rudolph Marco.
Mute. Good evening. I'm not sure exactly what Ddot Reimagined is, but if any of it has anything to do with driver retention, which I understand is a problem, you might want to look at more than just paying somebody more per hour. Having once been a bus driver for the city of Detroit for 29 years, I know that it was a challenging job. And although I enjoyed it, we had some additional components of our job, such as ambassador training and safety training, which went beyond just the passing of the initial qualifying and going through training. We were also, and I think the ambassador training was a program that came out of Rutgers University, and it was at least a week-long program that we attended in lieu of actually working our runs those particular days. But it gave drivers, and I hear this a lot, but I don't have any statistics to back this up. But I hear periodically and frequently that people have problems with some of the drivers, and I suspect that's probably true to some extent. But in this particular program, you were given certain tools, certain aspects of approaching the general public, which aided in a driver's capacity to work through and diffuse personal conflicts. And it enhanced the riding experience for a passenger. It also diminished some of the stressors that were part of driving a bus, and it helped in retention. Also, one other aspect.
That is time.
Oh, I didn't know I was on a clock.
Yeah, in
Okay.
2 minutes, but again, we are trying to keep it to, I mean, you kind of tied it in there, but
Okay.
you can put your comments in the chat or.
Okay, I just had one other thing to ask, if I could.
If it's about Ddot Reimagined.
Well, it has to do with the structure of when you have mechanics on the clock versus buses in the yard. It's been my experience over the years that the mechanics worked during the day when the buses were on the road. And when the buses were in the bays in the evening at night, the shifts were thinner. So quite often buses that required service, and it wasn't uncommon to get a bus the next day that had a write-up card on it where no service was done.
Okay.
And it was always my thinking.
I think that seems a little bit, just so that everyone can have an opportunity to talk. Please just go ahead. Yeah, we can save that. I mean, we appreciate that feedback, but we're just trying to keep it on task tonight.
Ayabami, if I can jump in real quick.
Yes.
We hear what he's saying. We're familiar with what he's saying, and we have been actually looking at those statistics and taking a look at our bus to mechanic format for quite some time. So we keep working on that. He has great great comments, and we've taken them all into consideration. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. The next hand up I see is Callie Wang.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, Ddot. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the hard work that you're doing to renew the system, and thank you for reaching out to the community. I wanted to raise the question of what other interest groups and city departments are involved in the redesign. So, for example, to what extent is SMART involved? A lot of folks in the poll earlier responded that they want to see more regional connections. A lot of Detroiters work in the suburbs, and a lot of suburbanites work in the city. So is that something that they're actively involved in with SMART and the RTA? The other thing is there involvement from the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation? If they're planning out where jobs are going to be in the future, that has to be planned around the areas that can be easily served by transit. And if transit can easily serve the areas that are going to have more jobs. So there should be coordination with that. And also with the Department of Public Works, because if they're in charge of the streets, they can implement street design features that are easy for transit riders to access, and also things that speed up the bus. So like things like bus lanes and signal priority. So I'm wanting to know more about what kind of collaboration there is with other transportation agencies, with other parts of the city. And thank you guys again for your hard work.
Russ, I saw that you placed in the chat, but I don't think it went to everyone, but yes, to working with SMART and RTA. Did you want to elaborate?
I just want to note that the more collaboration with more groups, more people, more customers, the operators we have, the better the overall plan that you guys will get to see will look like. So, the intention is to work pretty much with anybody who's willing to work with us.
And I'd also like to add that the two systems can complement each other rather than compete. There's some things they do well, there's some things we do well. And so we don't have to try to do what they do, and they don't have to try to do what we do, but we can try to make more of a seamless system where with better connections.
Absolutely. Is there ways of discussing, syncing up the schedules to make transfers easier, for instance, or what's the extent of that?
It's all on the table for Ddot Reimagining. Yeah, everything, all suggestions are welcome. Any suggestion you have is welcome.
What about some of the other groups like Department of Public Works or DGC or anyone that is responsible for the environment that buses are in, or where people are gonna have jobs?
Well, we participate on all the committees for the street makeovers. So to try to make sure that bus stops can be accommodated and that our passengers can be served. So that's and we've gotten the other departments in the habit of contacting us nearly time now. They contact us when they are doing things that change the street in a way that affects our bus service. So there were times when things happened without us knowing about it, and
Now, is that my audio this time?
Steve, I think we're losing your audio.
Yeah, Steve, we've lost it.
Okay. Russ, is that your hand up from earlier?
No, that's a new hand.
Okay, here we go.
Can you hear me now?
Just making sure.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Steve, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all.
But you barely. You might want to turn off your mic and give it another shot. Russ is going to go.
Okay. All right.
Callie and company, just want to say that the focus is on the service, but it's also going to be on, what infrastructure changes we'll need in the street. So we will be working with the other departments. What facilities do we need? For major transfers, do we need an investment in an improved waiting environment that's more reliable with more information, and so forth. So, while we're working on the mobility part of this, what needs to happen with the streets, with facilities, shelters, and so on to go along with the plan? So the comments you're making, the real answer is all of the above. So don't limit yourself to what you're suggesting, because everything's on the table at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me now, can you? Is my microphone back?
We hear you, Steve.
Okay, great. Okay, so we participate with DPW in all of the street makeovers, and those are happening everywhere. And we know that the earlier ones that happened had problems, and we're learning, and DPW was learning, and the ones that come up later should be a lot better in accommodating our riders and our bus stops and our service.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next hand up is a number ending in 585.
Hi, this is Kim Smith. I'm with Detroit People's Platform Transit Justice team. I just wanted to ask, what do you take into consideration when it comes to the design of the Ddot buses? Do you take into consideration, for example, designs of buses all over the United States, or buses all over the international world for the most part? Because there are designs that, are favorable to the environment when it comes to a bus system that could be way more efficient here in Michigan if you would take that into consideration. So I just want to know what you do take into consideration when you look at your bus designs.
Okay, I can respond to that if you can hear me now. Great. So we have we're redesigning the network now, but your comments about bus design are welcome. Some of the things we have to take into consideration are Buy America requirements, zero emission bus goals. So we have to have a plan, goal of converting to zero emission type buses. We have to look at the climate here and what works well here. So right now we are in a pilot program with battery electric buses, and we also hope to start a pilot program with some hydrogen fuel cell buses. And we're buying small numbers of these buses to see how they work in this environment, because not everything that works in other parts of the country would work well over here. So we're testing it out on a small scale. And meanwhile, we are replacing some of the diesel buses until we're ready to purchase larger numbers of alternative fuel buses. I think I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, great. The next hand up is Creative Hexagon.
Hi, that's actually my company's name. My name's Steven Haring. I live in downtown Detroit. Carless citizen of the Motor City. The first thing, and I'm sure you're going to hear this as the number one goal, is you need to increase frequency. I mean, I think all the Connect 10 should run, I would say, every 8 minutes during rush hour, and during off-peak days every 10 minutes. And I would say maybe at night, like in the middle of the night, every 20 minutes. And number two is we really need to advance it. We need bus lanes. I mean, tons of bus lanes downtown, Wayne State area. And we really need, I think you guys really should look into BRT technology. I mean, such as signal priority, faster boarding options, cashless cards, and buying fare right at the bus stop. And number three, this would actually be tied with number two, is there needs to be more expansion into the suburbs. I mean, even though we have SMART, it's only the fast routes that really go from the city into the suburbs. And most routes and most suburbs, you have to transfer buses, which is a nightmare. I've been through that before when I lived in the Royal Oak area in 2014. Because in both Cleveland and Miami, their local transit system manages the whole county. And that would definitely be, I think, a very critical step towards a regional transit system.
Thank you for listing those out. We will take that into consideration. Go ahead, Kristen.
Okay, great. Thomas Yazbek, who's the next hand up?
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Detroit Department of Transportation, for letting me speak. I'm not a Detroit resident, but I do represent Transportation Riders United. We are a transit advocacy group. I often ride Ddot and SMART in the city of Detroit for when I need to work or I just want to visit the city. I think everyone in this call, the public participants have been saying lots of interesting things, a lot of which I agree with. I have two sort of very related suggestions for Ddot Reimagined. I think stop consolidation should be considered as a priority. You know, this is I'm not sure if this planning is supposed to be zero cost or if there's expansion involved, but regardless, you know, there are a lot of Ddot routes which are old. They have not changed in a long time, and population in the city has probably shifted from certain places. So, you know, while there are some riders who may want a stop as close as possible for wherever they need to go, for a lot of people, it's not a problem to walk a little bit. And if you have routes that are stopping very frequently, that takes up time, and that can lead to knock-on effects of reducing frequency and reducing travel speed. So, I mean, the fast routes, of course, are express routes, which SMART offers that stop only every mile, and they're incredibly popular because of how quickly it takes, because they skip a lot of stops. And so I want to know if that's being considered. And then as part of that, with some of the consolidated routes, because they're faster, expansion into more suburbs than Ddot already goes to, like Macomb County. I mean, the RTA is considering. I saw that the RTA was planning.
And that is time.
Oh, what's that?
I was just saying that it's time.
Oh, okay. Can I just really quickly finish what I was about to say?
Go ahead. It looks like we only have a couple more hands up. So
I apologize. Sorry. So I was just thinking, you know, there is some planning that I've heard about for extending the Van Dyke Ddot route into Warren to better connect people or to better connect Ddot to some suburbs where previously they weren't serving. So I would just like to know if stop consolidation and subsequent expansion into the suburbs is something that Ddot is considering in this redesign plan. Thank you.
thank you. And I think, as mentioned, like Russ said it best, all things are on the table right now. So if that's something that you want to consider, thank you for that feedback, and we'll make it into consideration.
Okay, great. Ted Tansley, your hand's up next.
Hi, yes, can you hear me all right?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, great. So I just had a couple of things I wanted to say here. First of which is that I think in this process, it's critically important that we make it publicly available what data we're using to make these decisions. As other callers have mentioned, there's been a lot of changes in where people live and where jobs are in the city. So I think it's important that we really highlight why certain decisions are being made. Otherwise, we don't really have a great understanding for what's happening, why it's happening, and what changes are happening, and why that that was the decision as opposed to something else that someone might personally prefer. Having that publicly available would be really critical in having a good, solid public understanding of what's going on. The other things are around some of that consolidation that I've heard as well in this call. But I think I want to take a bit of a different approach. I think there's definitely an opportunity in consolidating routes in a way where maybe we create more circular routes. I know 2 routes that serve the community I live in Detroit are the Connor route and the Chalmers route, and they run kind of parallel paths to each other. So I was almost wondering if we were to make it like a circular route where a bus will go one direction along Connor, connect on Jefferson, and then back up Chalmers, and then the other way from Chalmers down and then up. That would give a lot of opportunity for someone who wants to get to certain parts of the city, but would, instead of having to take several buses to do it, they could take one bus to do that. And it connects a lot of different job centers, a lot of more recreational centers as well. And I think that's a good opportunity for that. The other side of it is that interaction between SMART and Ddot. I think there's a lot of routes that kind of arbitrarily end at the city boundaries, and they may be both local focused routes. And there's a lot of opportunity for just like working together with the resources both systems have and just extend the local routes longer. Thank you.
Thank you. Claire, your hand's up next.
Hi guys, this is Claire from True. I guess I'll just comment on the stop consolidation thing, like adding in like a fantasy world where we have lots of resources. It'd be great to see some like express routes added on, but not everyone is physically able to do extra walking. And to that end, I'll also say, I know there's been talks about like enhanced shelters, seating, things like that. I'll just say again, I think that's great and we should do it. I guess my main comment is I really hope there's being a lot of direct outreach to neighborhoods on this, because this is a big deal. And I think most people don't know that bus route redesign is happening. Like most people just don't know. And like I've worked in local government. I know how it is and how much time you have to do anything, but to the extent possible, not just like, hey, here's an email of 7 things that are happening starting yesterday. Also, you're getting a lot of other emails, but like direct one-on-one outreach to community and neighborhood leaders that will go a long way. Physical things at stops and not just like the big hubs and centers, but as much as you can, get the word out directly to people. People are going to be surprised, and you do not want that. I know we all want everyone participating in this whole process this summer. We want the same thing. Just make sure you tell people in a way that will reach them.
I'd like to say something now, if I could. These are great comments, and thank you for recognizing our constraints. But even within our existing budget, we have room for another 100 or so bus operators. So don't be afraid to use your imagination and to come up with some great suggestions. So we do have, if we could, one day we hope to fill those positions with bus operators, and we should be able to add service to our schedule. So let's reimagine our system with the resources. Let's imagine the bus system that Detroit deserves. And then until we get the resources to provide that, we'll do the best we can with the resources we have. but we hope to improve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I know we're not necessarily addressing all, but I believe this one may be worth elaborating. Ashley, are you able to maybe expand on the outreach efforts?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, my camera's been acting weird all evening. So as Bobby mentioned, we have citywide and transit talks per district plan. So we've been supporting both teams, Ddot and TMD, with outreach around that. During those outreach meetings, just kind of a little preview, we have multiple stations set up where you can continue to get this amazing feedback that everyone's been giving tonight. Surveys, you get to learn a little more about the Reimagine project and get more detail. We have been communicating not with just residents, but also community organizations and local businesses, because they have employees who use public transportation, as well as how it affects their customers and their constituents as well. So the outreach has been going really well. Again, we have meetings planned around each district. And when you go to the link that's in the chat, the Reimagine link, you'll see when we'll be in your district, as well as the citywide meetings coming up in later this month in July.
Thank you for that.
Hi, Bobby, may I edit that as well?
Absolutely, I didn't see, yeah.
Sure, yeah, so just to build on what Ashley said, Claire, thank you for your last point of your comment. I mentioned in Renard in the chat, we really want to emphasize that getting help from everyone here to spread the word is really important. But along with the district and citywide meetings we have planned, we're also intending to do pop-ups, going to riders and the public at the Transit Center at Rosa Parks, at State Fair, at key bus stops, as well as some community events and farmers markets, et cetera, in the coming weeks and months. So going up to the folks as much as we can. And we've also been in touch in regular communication with the Department of Neighborhoods on how we can reach specific groups and communities across the city.
Thank you, James.
Okay, great.
I guess we can, we have some more hands, right, Kristen?
We have LG Stylo 6. Is that person able to unmute and make?
Can you hear me?
Yep, there we go. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I've been trying to get on here for an hour. And I don't know what's going on, but I live in District 6. I have epilepsy, and I've called in many times to you guys, Ddot, and the bus route that I used to have was over here at Spring Wells, but they closed it down because of the overpass. And I walk, so and a lot of people around the neighborhood have to walk too, and they have to walk all the way up to 4th Street to catch a 4th Street bus. And as I said before, that if the bus route would, since Springwells is closed, if they would take the 4th Street bus, turn left on Green, turn left on West Lafayette, pick us up there at West Lafayette, then they could take Springwells down, and it would lead through Verner and all that. There's many people around here that asked me to call in. They want to go to that Gordon Foods that's downtown. We need a bus route back through here. What are you guys going to do? Are you going to put it back?
This was, we apologize that it took you a while to get in, but great that you made it, and thank you for sharing that. And we have that on record, and then they'll take that into consideration.
Okay, because it's like days like today, it's hot, and we would like to catch a bus to get around, and it would be good for the kids too. Or with that, of course, they have to ride with an adult. But have you guys ever tried to get on the bus routes and see where it's leading? Also, too, how a lot of people asked me to ask, how can we get a bus card? Hello?
Okay, tonight was Ddot Reimagined, but you're asking about how to get a bus card, like the bus pass. You can go to the transit center, the cashier's office, or you could do the mobile passes. Is that what you're asking? There's also more information on the website, or you can call customer service 933-1300. But if you're looking for just the bus pass again, the cashier offices is open.
Hi, Bami. Those are all the
Okay.
first time hands.
All right, we are at 6:12. This has been great. We have heard a lot of great feedback, and I hope that we continue to. We hope to see you all at the in-person meetings and the other any other virtual meetings. I want to give this opportunity now, since we're maybe about 15 minutes, for any last words from our team.
Mr. Oglesby, I do believe that you wanted to say a few words.
Yes, no, this has been great. We look forward to more input like this. I'm glad that people were able to express themselves honestly, because that's the only way we're going to be able to move forward. In addition, I'm glad that some of the items that were brought up in the past, when I told them this is the forum to do it, they did it. We're going to continue to be interactive. We're going to continue to have you speak your mind, and we're going to continue to take all of this input and figure out how to bring, to improve what needs to be improved. We're working hard, but you need to know that we're working hard for you. You are the riders, and we can, coming out of the pandemic, this is a great opportunity to, again, like one of the participants said, let's look at how to bring this to the next level, not how to bring it back to the way it was. Because when I first got here, it was very clear that people weren't happy with the way it was. So our goal is to bring Ddot to the next level, and we're going to do it. I promise you. So just keep attending the meetings, keep providing input, and we will you will see the results. With that, I appreciate everyone that came out tonight to speak, and I look forward to hearing from all of you at the next meeting. Ayabami?
That's the last word from you. Let's end there. Let's have a wonderful night. Thank you all.
Good night.